if you're a terrible movie, you're not on TBS for
It
24
could be
hours.
as fierce a
Sorry.
debate as A Christmas Story is not in the top five Christmas movies.
so,
On
good.
advice, upon advice of counsel,
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I must state publicly.
Again, this is why we didn't record last week, because it would have been in the entire episode. Welcome to My God Up Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I preview Georgia's college football playoff semifinal matchup with the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Peach Bowl. And we answer questions from you, our listeners. As always, remember to check out store.mygodappodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at My God Up Podcast. Finally, we'd love for you to check out our presenting sponsor, Oxia Time, at oxiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress.
We're back.
Yes, only like a week off, right? I think we took 1 week off. We had the 100 Sanford collab with Lamar and George, which was a lot of fun. And then let's see, the following week you went on vacation, and then even before that, I don't even know how much we talked about this, but like that week, that Monday, Ella had a play, or like it was like the winter theater showcase stuff. So didn't really have time to record last week. So week off, and now we're back.
Now we're back. Now it's game week. It feels weird. It feels a little bit weird, but we're quickly getting back into the swing of things for this upcoming Peach Bowl.
I agree. It feels weird. I feel like it feels very different from the build up to the Orange Bowl last year. And I guess that's primarily because we're not coming off of a loss. I don't know. I think that's part of it. The part of it, but then also like we were texting about this earlier today, that like I feel like last year in the lead up, like the Michigan fans were like crazy online and were like all over Twitter and like talking a bunch of trash. And I haven't seen as much of that with Ohio State. Not that I haven't seen some. It started to creep into my timeline like starting yesterday, but I hadn't seen anything before then. But the algorithm caught some weird stuff, I guess, last couple of days.
Yeah, it's been quiet. I will say the Ohio State people. I've seen a few things here and there. I was asking the boys if anybody had seen any like crazy Ohio State alumni tweets or anything like that. Like what happened with Eric Ainge and some of these other guys that have said things, so that I could bust out a nice gift for the people to enjoy.
True.
But I haven't seen it. I've seen it a little bit here and there. I saw yesterday a tweet went out that UGA's best tight end was in the portal.
I did see that. It's like, come on, guys.
I don't know how serious that account was, but it was pretty funny.
True. Good point.
Interestingly, I've heard more from Bama people than I have Ohio State people.
Yeah, that seems par for the course these days. Rent free, John.
we live rent free in their heads.
It is nice. I don't know. It is like relaxing to me to have them be done. At least for playoff stuff. So I don't know. I find it funny.
Yep.
All right. So I brought something today that you had told me about. So for this episode, I've got the Four Roses Small Batch Select. So I had never had it, and you mentioned it when we were talking to Lamar last week. So I saw it at the ABC and picked it up, and I figured it, Four Roses, we're down to 4 teams for the playoff. I considered getting some Peach Crown Royal, but it's not really my thing for the Peach Bowl, so I went with this.
Ooh, the Peach Bowl. Yeah, that would have been interesting. You could have done like a peach old fashioned or something, but
that would take way too much effort.
Yeah, these days, I feel like if you look at the progression of our podcasting, we go from like talking about cocktails and things like that to just give me the bourbon.
Seriously. What do you got there?
I've got a pour from the Elite bottle.
Nice.
I've got we're into Elite season. This is where we separate the men from the boys in the playoff.
Yep.
So I've decided to bust out our Elite Elixir.
Nice. I actually had some of mine recently as well. It's good, and I just added some stuff to it. I just think I just added Long Branch. I just finished up my Long Branch recently. A little bit of that and a little bit of Weller got added to my bottle over the past week.
A little bit of Weller was added to mine as well. What else did I add? I think it was I added something. Woodford also. I mean, I had a couple of bottles that I finished off.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, it's quite good. It's quite good. I'm enjoying it. It's weird. You start pouring better and better bourbon into it. Every so often, and a little bit over time adds up to a
Yeah.
fantastic glass of a
Right.
fantastic bottle of bourbon.
Yeah, I was very baffled by the concept when you first told me about it, but I've come to enjoy it. I definitely enjoy it. Oh man, but you guys have you have a good Christmas and everything.
We did. We had a pretty good Christmas. We went to, like you mentioned, we went out of town. We went to Chattanooga for a little 3 4 day getaway, 3 night 4 day getaway in Chattanooga for a little bit.
Yeah.
Stopped at Bucky's, had a
Oh,
brisket
nice,
sandwich. Had a
nice.
brisket sandwich, yeah. I saw a picture for people that like this, I guess this week or something. I saw some pictures on Twitter, people posting how crazy Bucky's was for
Mhm.
holiday travel. I did not experience it being quite that crazy, but it was definitely, it's always insane the operations that they have going on at those places at Bucky's.
Yeah.
Not a sponsor yet.
Yeah. Well, I still gotta get to one. I still haven't been to one.
Oh
So
man, it's great. The brisket sandwich is fantastic. I feel like my wife and I were discussing this. Um, she was remarking about how expensive my sandwich was, and when she told me how much it was, I was like, "Oh my gosh, the prices go up." It's like a $15 brisket sandwich, and I'm like, I mean, it's really good, but I don't know that I'll get it again because 15
right
bucks is a lot of money for a sandwich
at a gas station.
at a gas station. Yeah.
Nice. Well, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, we've been super low key, just kind of hanging out, watching Christmas movies, which I do feel like, probably a good thing we didn't record last week because all we would have done was argue about A Christmas Story and how good or not good of a movie it is.
I was about to say we've I guess I don't know if there's like a Christmas armistice that we've had, but like it's been quiet. It's been quiet on the Twitters lately about the Christmas movie. It's like that I honestly it's another Christmas movie, but totally off the walls or off the rails. But the Joy Noel, I think is what it's called.
Mm,
Is it Joy Noel? About the World War I battle between
mm,
Germany and France, I think it was,
okay.
where they had an armistice on Christmas
Oh,
on
right, right.
Christmas Day, and they got together and played soccer and all that stuff, and
Okay.
then the next day they went back to fighting each other.
So that's us on A Christmas Story.
Yeah, that's also not a Christmas story.
Too good. Too good. We will not. We beat that dead horse via texting each other and probably on Twitter too. So
Yeah, yeah.
I've got I do have I think tomorrow we've got some post Christmas stuff. So our Christmas isn't quite over. So we've got Frip Dog and my mom are getting into town tomorrow. So we'll have them here for the next few days and do Christmas with them. So and then that'll kind of wrap up our Christmas.
Awesome. The only thing that is dog related from our Christmas is I finally picked up one of the sweatshirts that Kirby
Yes.
has. And I
Yes.
got one for my dad. I got one for my dad too. And so we have matching sweatshirts.
Nice. My dad and I also have matching of the version that I have. So, or that I guess we
Nice.
have. So, yeah. Which I think I forgot to mention that actually, or maybe I did. I don't remember. I'll say it again. At the tech game, like my dad and I actually both wore that sweatshirt. And after the game, someone went up to my dad and was like, "I knew you were going to wear that sweatshirt because I saw your tweet." And I was like, "That was my tweet." That's pretty funny. So,
That's funny.
Rip
So
Dog
even
always getting
so,
approached.
I was about to say, so even offline, your dad
Exactly.
is more famous.
Exactly. Exactly. But like it was my tweet. I don't know. It was hilarious. It was pretty funny. Oh man. All right.
I had someone come up to me at the liquor store and complimenting my
Oh
My God a
yeah.
Podcast hat. That was pretty fun.
That is cool.
I
That
didn't
is
have
cool.
time. Sorry if that was you, dear listener. I was completely befuddled on what I was going to be selecting, and I was in such a hurry to get home because I was very much delayed.
So you weren't like, you can get one at store.mygotapodcast.com.
Yeah, no, I didn't pull that card out or be like, "Oh,
Uh,
are you a listener?" Like
right,
they might
right.
have, they might have just thought that it was just some random Yahoo that had a My God Podcast hat on. But little did you
Generally,
know, you were
yeah.
talking.
Right. Generally, when people come up to me about the hat, it's just they see the Munson. It's like, oh, hey, where'd you get that Munson hat? So
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
generally how the conversation starts with for me. So too funny. Good stuff. All right. Well, let's jump in. We got a game in hand. We're down to the final four. To the CFP. And we are in it yet again. So let's talk about the matchup. So we've got kickoff is Saturday night, December 31st. 8 p.m. on New Year's Eve at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. 20 for records on the season, Georgia obviously coming in at 13-0, 8-0 in the SEC. Ohio State is 11-1. They were 8-1 in the Big Ten. They are the only team in the playoff that did not participate in their conference championship game. All time, this is a very historic matchup, John. All-time Georgia leads this series 1-0. So the only other matchup between these teams coming in that 1993 Citrus Bowl, so from the 92 season back then. So that was like Eric Zier, Garrison Hurst, Andre Hastings, that team. Rankings.
That's cool.
Yeah, rankings wise, Dogs obviously number one across the board. Ohio State is number 4, obviously in the college football playoff. Also number 4 in the AP, I think, and then they're like 3 in the Coaches Bowl. For TV, it's on ESPN. We've got like the number 1 crew of Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, and then we've got 2 analysts in Holly Rowe, 2 sideline reporters, Holly Rowe and Laura Rutledge. So I think each team will have their own sideline reporter for this game. Also, ESPN is doing like the huge megacast. So this game is going to be on like many, many channels. So like if you're not into watching, if you don't want to watch Fowler and Herbstreit, you can watch like those like the megacast. There's like the all 22, like the high up camera. I think you can just watch like that. What's the Skycam that kind of hangs over the field? You can watch that version. And they are going to have that hometown version where you can listen to Scott Howard and watch the game. I don't know what channel that's on, but just, check your listings. If you just look in your guide, they'll be on there multiple times. So you can kind of choose your own adventure there.
Right.
And then the official hashtag is hashtag CFA Peach Bowl. So got it specific for the game. The weather is a low of 51, high of 63 with rain in the forecast. So just be aware of that. If you're going to the game, you're going to be out and about tailgating. Doesn't look like the best weather, but at least the sub-zero or whatever, crazy wind chill, crazy cold weather will be gone by this weekend. Because that's the thing we didn't talk about, John. It has been crazy. The weather's been a little crazy, pretty cold everywhere across the Southeast, or I guess everywhere. So at least that'll be gone.
Oh yeah, dude. It's been brutal, man. I think I sent you the videos of what's all been going on around town. Sounds like Hunter experienced some of this. Maybe some of you listeners have experienced it, but it's gotten so cold that people's pipes are bursting and stuff, and that's just not normal for the South.
Yeah, for sure.
We were dealing with that with my wife's photography studio. I guess it happened in their complex, and the fire department turned off all the water for the entire area, and so like we were trying to figure that out today, actually. Yeah, man, it's been cold. It's been so cold. I went to the workout with the guys yesterday morning, and it was 16 degrees outside.
So did you do the workout outside like you always do? Oh man, yeah, no, thank you.
If you go, it's rain or shine. And I will say that by the end of the workout, I funny enough, since I wasn't in town when they did the workouts last week for like the run up to Christmas or whatever, we usually do like a workout on Friday where we like wear like our Christmas garb or whatever.
Gotcha.
And I've lately, the last year or so, I've worn my Die Hard sweatshirt. Yeah. Now I have a Machine Gun Ho 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 sweatshirt. So I wore it for the workout yesterday, and by the end of the workout, I had like ice all over. And some of the guys throughout the week like had posted their pictures after they were done sweating or whatever, and ice had like formed on their beards and wherever sweat had formed. Right. Which is crazy. It's just crazy to me. But yeah, that's how a lot of the F3 guys do it, especially the ones that are out in like the Midwest where it's like freezing cold constantly in the winter. But yeah, they do it outside every rain or shine.
Dude, I have to wait for temperatures to get warm enough for me to do workout in like our room that we have set up at our house is like not it's not insulated. Or it's insulated, but it's not temperature controlled, I guess I'd say. So I'm like waiting until the afternoon because I don't even want to do that like inside. So yeah, I'm not cut out for that. I'm not as dedicated as you, I suppose.
You say that, and I was definitely that type of person at the beginning. I was like, man, I'm never gonna do this.
Yeah,
But I had a long sleeve shirt, a sweatshirt on. I had my ears are what gets me, my ears and my hands. So as long as I have gloves and I have something that is keeping my ears somewhat warm, I can pretty much power through just about anything. And then
right.
like as people like you pick things up from other guys. Like there's some windproof pants that I picked up that were insulated, and like once you start working out with the right gear,
Mm,
at that point it just becomes a mental thing. Like if you can get over like the first like step out of the car, or out of the warm car into the cold, and just start moving, eventually you just naturally warm up from running and doing the workout. That you just kind of stay warm. I mean,
right, right.
but it's when you stop. It actually is like a motivation, because like it's like if I stop, I'm gonna be freezing cold from all the sweat.
Right. Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. That makes sense. All right, let's see. As far as fun facts, I had a couple of things.
Oh, I
Nothing
got
major.
many things.
Okay, so I'll let mine. I was just gonna say, like, Ohio State, led by head coach Ryan Day. This is fourth season. Leading Ohio State. As far as the Peach Bowl goes, Georgia is 4-2 all time in the Peach Bowl. So beat Maryland in 73, lost to Syracuse in 89, lost to Virginia in 95. Let's see, beat Virginia Tech, or sorry, beat Virginia in 98, and then beat Virginia Tech in 2006, and then beat Cincinnati 2021, or part of the 2020 season. So that's kind of Georgia's all-time Peach Bowl history. So what did you have?
For as far as like the fun facts go.
Yes.
So here's the thing. So like everybody hypes up this rivalry that they have with well, first of all, I guess I'll start with like where they're founded. So this is yet again another school that was founded as an agricultural university, which seems to be a running theme
Yeah,
amongst
seriously.
the schools that we've been playing lately, is that they were previously ag schools.
Yep.
So I guess welcome to the fray. Ohio State Ag.
I've got Ohio Agricultural and Mechanical College is what it was originally.
Yes.
Yes.
Ohio Ag Mech.
Nice.
um yeah, so another thing that's interesting, so this is another case of a school that would not exist without the efforts of a rival. So it was founded in part by Ohio University, which I know is like a rival, kind of like a rival of theirs, at least from a scholastic standpoint. I don't know how much of a rival it is from an athletic standpoint, like a
Mm,
Georgia Tech situation, but like they wouldn't exist without the efforts of another school that's been around a lot longer than they have.
right. Interesting.
Yes, I so the Buckeyes, the actual school mascot has not been around quite that long. I think that they actually didn't have a mascot until like the 60s or something like that.
Okay.
The official mascot, yeah, it was like 1963, I believe it was. But yeah, like they haven't really had an official mascot. They haven't really had an official mascot since the 60s. I guess that I guess they originally, it was supposed to be a deer. Like
Okay.
like it was supposed to be a deer. Like that was like a leading candidate or whatever, but they were afraid of how skittish the deer would be because they wanted a live
Mm,
mascot.
got it.
And I guess they had a dog, a German Shepherd, like police dog, made an appearance at one of the basketball games back in the day, and it was just they didn't have a mascot back then until like the 60s.
Gotcha.
So that's how, I guess it was like 1965 is when he became the Brutus Buckeye became the official mascot of the school.
Gotcha. Interesting.
And I guess that they chose the Buckeye because of the prominence of the Buckeye tree around Ohio.
Mhm. Right.
Which I have I asked one of my Michigan friends, what was something that we could say to the Ohio State folks that would get them really riled up, and he gave me a few things
Okay.
about the Buckeyes as well. Basically, he says that Buckeyes are, if you tell them that the Buckeyes are balls of on a string, then that really gets on their nerves.
Sorry, Carter.
Sorry, Carter. Yeah, basically anything about Michigan will get them off the rails about this. Yeah, they don't like losing a bet to say the word Michigan.
Mm.
So I guess that's another something. He also said that Justin Fields is a Georgia guy and not an Ohio State guy.
I've seen a lot of that on Twitter lately. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, so basically, if you tell them that he's a Georgia guy and not an Ohio State guy because he plays well in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because I've seen like there's that one. I don't even know who it is. There's just one guy on Twitter, and he claims to be affiliated with ESPN somehow, but like it's like saying like Justin Fields is Ohio State, which I agree. But then he was like, and we also claim Joe Burrow. I was like, what? Like I don't know. Like you can't have it both ways. At any rate.
Yeah, you can't claim Joe Burrow. The other thing about speaking of Michigan and Ohio State, the game has like this like storied lore amongst college rivalries.
Mm.
Do you know that it's not even like the most played rivalry?
Like for either school, you mean?
Like for it's not even like the most played rivalry like in
Oh
college
yeah,
football. Like
right.
it was ranked number one in like ESPN's like best rivalries or whatever. Like
Mhm.
they've played 118 times,
Okay.
and UGA has played Auburn more times than that.
Right. Yeah.
Like I think 124, 126 years we've played this rivalry. It's just funny to me that there's such a hype for that Michigan Ohio State rivalry. I guess because it's like, they're usually pretty good, and it usually has like national prominence in terms of like who goes to the Big Ten championship.
Right.
But yeah, the Auburn UGA rivalry is much more storied than the game. The
Yeah.
Deep South's oldest rivalry is greater than the game.
Nice.
I
like it.
But yeah, man. These guys are a little weird, man. Have you heard the phrase? Have you heard the phrase? They put their pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else.
I have heard it. Yeah.
So I don't know if this is like the original origin, but like apparently, like the reason this was something that happened in like the 1930s or something like that, where
Mhm.
like I guess there was a question that was raised to a coach that was like by the media about like what they were going to do, about how they're going to fare against the team from Ann Arbor, Michigan
Mhm.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. This is a guy named Schmidt. Francis Schmidt was the first time coach for Ohio State. And I guess that the next 4 games, like including that year, they beat Michigan by a shutout all 4 years, like the next 4 years in a row.
Nice.
And I guess that they decided to come up with this, like kind of like how every UGA player, every winner of the Georgia Tech game gets a replica of the Governor's Trophy.
Mhm.
I guess the winner of this game gets, for Ohio State. I don't know if this is like a Michigan thing, but like the Ohio State, if you win this game against Michigan, you get a gold pant. Like it kind of looks like a charm, like a like the charm bracelets that your grandma would wear or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a gold pants charm that you win for winning that game, which I find it interesting that's how it was. Let's see some other fun facts. There's the song that they sing, kind of like the alma mater or whatever that most schools do at the end of the games. Their chosen song would be like the equivalent of if UGA chose Corey Smith's "Every Dog Has Its Day" before he made the edit of the national championship. Like basically. Michigan beat the crap out of Ohio State one year back in 1922. In the 1920s, Michigan beat the piss out of 1902 is when it was written. and Michigan, I guess, beat the piss out of Ohio State, and everybody was super sad about it. And I guess this freshman at Ohio State decided to like write a song about it, and it's basically like we got our butts kicked and we wrote a song about it, and now it's our national anthem.
That's funny. Interesting. Interesting.
So that what's it called? Where is it at? It's called Carmen, Ohio, which by the way, that leads me to the other fun fact. This school is so pompous that they're the only university in the entire country that has the word "the" as part of the official name of the school.
Yeah.
And in that vein, their chosen alma mater song is called Carmen, Ohio, which Carmen is like a word that's used to talk about like the song or a poem or whatever. And basically they couldn't even have an alma mater that had a normal name.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So
The
it's basically the song of Ohio.
okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah. The whole "the" thing is certainly something. And I know they all do that. It's just like whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Nice with the fun facts. Let's see. I'll quickly spin through the news and notes. So one thing that also happened since we last talked was National Signing Day, or the early signing day. So we're not going to dive into that really in any length here. Was just going to say, definitely another reason to subscribe to Dog Central. You can go over there and check it out. Jason had some really good coverage, between Jason and Dustin and Graham, going through all that, everything, breaking down the class. I think the interesting thing to me was the transfers, actually. Getting the two SEC, in conference wide receiver transfers was interesting. So definitely, I don't know. I'm excited about that kind of heading forward. For the Peach Bowl itself, so Kirby's press conference, he got asked about the status of Ladd McConkey and Warren McClendon, and his response was, "Is excited to get those guys hopefully back." So I don't know. It was a little different than what he usually says. He didn't say hopefully to get him back exactly, but I don't know. That's just something to watch. From what I have heard, it sounds like people are a bit more optimistic on Ladd than they are on McClendon. But definitely something to watch out for on Saturday with those guys. There was also some commentary around like 12 personnel and and then he said, and excited about 13. And I know Josh got really excited about like that Kirby was talking about 13 personnel in the press conference. Although I did see someone in the Dog Central forum say that they actually think when Kirby said, "I'm excited about 13," he was just talking about Stetson, who wears the number 13. So I'm not quite sure.
I think he was talking about 13 personnel.
Okay. Fair enough. And then the funny thing was the Muschamp in his availability. He was getting asked about that 93 Citrus Bowl against Ohio State. And he said, "We had a luncheon and Herb Street and got up and threw a pass across the room. I knew then we had a shot to win." And he said, "Make sure he knows I said that." So that's pretty good. So Muschamp taking a dig at Herb Street.
So I have a question about that. Like, is it weird that like this is the first that we're really like hearing a soundbite from Muschamp?
Well, that's the whole like Kirby's thing, right? Like he doesn't let the coordinators talk during the season, and then you get into postseason, and it's like the bowl games and all like have their own like rules, and the playoff has their own rules of like these are the people we're going to get to talk to. And so Kirby doesn't have a choice. He can't say like, "No, you can't talk to the coordinators." They make them be available. So that's why that happens. So you basically hear them preseason and then like the bowl game.
Okay, because I remember thinking that I was like, what the hell? Why is Muschamp upstaging Kirby?
Yeah,
I imagine Kirby's going to have some words with him about that.
Right. Yeah, it's totally a Kirby thing. So,
did Shu get any sound bites at all, or
so I didn't hear anything like to that level come out, but he did speak to. They both spoke. They both had a turn.
He probably towed the Kirby line. And Muschamp's probably gonna plead ignorance when Kirby confronts him about it. Like,
yeah, I didn't see anything like go viral from Shu.
Did Monken have anything eventful to say?
Not that I saw. I didn't like go back and watch Monken's whole thing or anything, but I didn't see anything. I haven't seen anything to date. Yeah, I'll have to go watch it. So
Good times.
Those are the only things that jumped out. I will say on the Ohio State side, in their availability, so they're dealing with like some running back injury type stuff going on. So like Meon Williams, he's their leading rusher, and he didn't show up for his media availability, but they said he was under the weather. Their offensive coordinator, Kevin Wilson, said that he had a good day of practice Monday. So we'll see. Because he was kind of had like he didn't play, I think, the week before the Michigan game. And he did play against Michigan, but only had 8 carries. The guy that showed up in Williams' absence for the interviews was this guy, Chip Trayanum. And so he's like a transfer. So he's from Akron, Ohio, natively. He went to Arizona State at high school and he played running back at Arizona State, but he transferred to Ohio State to play linebacker. And he's been playing linebacker like all season. But like, they've been having some kind of mounting injuries at running back. And so he asked to switch to play running back before the Iowa game. And he did. And he had like 1 carry against Iowa, but he was actually their leading rusher against Michigan. So thought that was interesting. So something to watch for there with Williams kind of coming back off injury. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. So that he's the guy that they sent out there to talk to the media.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Probably sent them out there with some prepared statements, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because like the whole interview ended up just being about like his switch from linebacker. So they ended up getting a lot of questions about that. So
yeah.
So that was it.
I'll tell you what though. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll get into that in the predictions or whatever.
Okay. All right. Let's get into the game. So I guess kind of as we usually do, we'll just start with what we're looking for when Georgia has the ball. So as we're looking at that, I'll call out kind of like the leaders on the Ohio State defense. So Tommy Eichenberg is a linebacker. He's their leading tackler, 3rd in the Big Ten in tackles. They've got Michael Hall Jr. is a defensive tackle, and Jack Sawyer is a defensive end. They lead the team in sacks with 4.5 sacks. And Tanner McAllister is a safety, leads the team with 3 interceptions. Like where I've been tracking, John, like kind of like our opponents, like how they're doing against the Power 5. So Ohio State's defense is allowing 19.8 points per game against the Power 5. But Georgia's offense, our offensive impact against Power 5 teams, we are scoring 11.37 points per game more than our opponents allow against the Power 5. So those are just kind of some numbers to go off of. I'll say too, like I know you watched like the whole Ohio State Michigan game, right? Like I
did.
Okay, so I haven't watched the whole thing, but I've just watched like some highlights. And the one thing that I noticed is that Ohio State's pass defense wasn't very good.
Was garbage?
Yes. Actually, garbage is the word I had written down in my notes, and I didn't use it for some reason.
I would go so far as to say that it is hot garbage.
Yeah, they look bad. I saw Michigan beat them in the passing game like every way possible. Like they were hitting them for the deep ball. They were doing like short passes to the perimeter, and the receiver scampered off. They had guys just like getting biting on fakes on play action, not sticking with the guy on like an out to in move from receivers. I saw like the full kind of gambit there. So.
Yeah. Basically what you saw, if you were to go back and watch, dear listener, the Michigan-Ohio State game, which is by and large Ohio State's like toughest game this entire season, minus like any struggle bus, road or home, any of their struggle bus victories. Like people like to point at the Missouri game for UGA, right? Like that's like that was our struggle bus victory. The fact is like UGA has been favored by more than 20 points 9 times this season. We've been favored by more than 20 points. We've only had a spread that was less than 10 points once this season, and it was against Tennessee, and we know how that turned out.
Right.
If you are unable to defend this team in the passing game, you are going to get absolutely torched, and we've shown that left and right.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is that if you are able to stop our passing game, we can still come at you with a full allotment of running backs and running plays that are going to give you even more cause for concern.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this on a recent episode that I thought and I think I tweeted this out on someone on Twitter had asked like, who do you think? I think it was one of the media boys was like, who's a guy that is not being talked about right now but should be in
I think
the
that was
lead up.
Lamar, or you were going back and forth with Lamar about this on Twitter. I don't know if he had originally asked it, but I remember that.
No, he responded.
Okay,
I
okay,
think it was
okay,
like I want to say it was like Barrett Salih. It was like someone like that, or like Josh Pate or something like that.
okay.
But like they posed the question like who's a breakout star for the college football playoffs that no one's talking about right now? And my response was Kendall Milton.
Yeah.
And like I think I had mentioned that recently that Kendall was going to be a key piece to our team. Him getting healthy was going to be key to us down the line because we started to see some cracks with Kenny McIntosh and Dejan Edwards, and like it started to become pretty clear that we needed to have another healthy back as a change of pace, as a change of option for if those two are not working, or if something's not working, we have something up our sleeve that we could throw out there as a difference maker. And a punishing Kendall Milton, who runs north and south with ferocity, seems to be a revelation as of late. And so that was my answer.
Yeah.
I feel like he's the one that no one's really talking about that will, I don't necessarily think he's going to be like the Peach Bowl MVP or anything like that, but like
Sure.
it's certainly not outside of bounds to suggest that. But at the same time, like he could be a force that comes in, either as a starter or, in the fourth quarter, taking the game over as we go down the Kirby Death March mode kind of thing. That kind of helps ice everything away. But yeah, Kendall Milton to me was one of those guys to look out for in the lead up to this game. But
yeah, I like that. And then I was also like, I've been looking back, like I was earlier was kind of comparing, like, I guess the vibe against, to last year's Orange Bowl. But like also, if you look at how our offense came out in that game. So in the first half against Michigan in the Orange Bowl last year, we went touchdown, field goal, touchdown, end of half. So, we never punted in the first half against Michigan. So I would love to see us come out fast, firing on all cylinders. And you'll remember like Monken had some stuff up his sleeve last year, right? Like we had that one play where Bowers was like lined up as a tackle eligible as far as formation for the first touchdown. We saw that. We saw the Kenny McIntosh pass to AD Mitchell.
right.
So, what are we going to see? Are we, I feel like with this long layoff and all this time to prepare, I think Monken hopefully has a nice, good script to get this game started. And I'm not going to be surprised if he pulls some more tricks out of the bag, just like he did last year.
Right. What we need is our leading passer in that game was AD Mitchell, right? Like we need AD to come out and bust
Right.
bust out some pass plays on the trickeration.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Stetson interview with Schleybaugh, the video?
No, I don't think I have.
Mark Schleybaugh for ESPN had a really good article about kind of like Kirby building out building this machine that is now Georgia. But with that article, there was a video interview with Stetson. It's very good. I have to tweet it out, I suppose. But it was really cool. Just, Schleybaugh did start asking Stetson a bit about the whole like people doubting and everything. And he did say, he was like, like kind of, it is what it is. He's like, it was like I couldn't do this or that, and then now like he was a Heisman finalist, and then now it's like, well, he shouldn't be. He's like, like what do I have to do? So like whatever. It was a good interview though. So I think Stetson's kind of locked and loaded, dialed in, ready to go.
So Stetson was talking about how what does he have to do to be a finalist?
Well, it was more just like, even when he does enough to be a finalist, then the question's like, why is he a finalist? So he's just kind of like, whatever. I thought it was pretty funny.
So I will definitely say that that's definitely going to be a factor in this game. I feel like you heard it a little bit at the Heisman Trophy presentation or whatever, where they announced the winner. You heard who was it? It was Caleb. Wasn't it Caleb Williams, the eventual winner? That came up to Stetson and said, "Go win it" or something.
Yeah, it was. Yep.
I have a feeling that that's going to that one comment will help kind of spark the motivation I feel like that he needs
Yeah.
to get a guy that won this award to tell him to go out and win it. I think is going to help speak volumes. Not to mention the fact that he's indoors.
That's right.
Stetson indoors is typically historically been a problem. Not that Stetson outdoors isn't, but
Yeah.
um, you got that plus the chip on his shoulder that I feel like that he's just grown so much more as a human being and as a football player that he's just going to be ready to prove the haters wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. 100%. I don't know, you got anything else on the offense? Do you want to move on to the defense?
Offense. I am going to be curious to see how much we use and leverage Mr. Bowers.
Mhm.
I feel like that's going to be a key component as well. Like you said, the way that this game on paper, and I say that on paper, stacks up is on paper, Ohio State is really good at stopping the run,
Mhm.
and they're not so good at the pass game.
Mhm.
So on paper, this seems like it's going to be a day where Stetson can win the day. All the usual caveats of like, I guess with McClendon being out, like potentially, how's the offensive line going to cope with that change?
I'm less worried with that considering we got Mims though. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, basically, if the offensive line plays as good as they have all season,
Mhm.
I like our chances to be able to throw the ball on these guys pretty considerably. So
Yeah.
in many ways, this can be a, suck it Heisman voters. This is why I should have been there kind of. It could
Yeah.
literally be the Heisman moment after the Heisman was awarded.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
Um, if it's not for whatever reason, like let's say, Ladd can't go or he's not back up to 100%. So
Mhm.
that means we've got to drop to some of our other players, which frankly is not a huge drop off, but like Ladd, Brock, Kenny, these have been key components of the passing game all season long, right?
Right.
So, even Darnell to a certain extent as well as kind of included in that. So if you factor that they're all going to be playing up to par, he should have a big day. But if for whatever reason not, like then we have to rely on the running game, right? And so
Right.
that could potentially open up holes in the defense if they're trying to dial in to stop the run. I feel like it's going to be lights out. I still feel like that the way to beat this team is to drop back into coverage and try to let Stetson beat you. And I don't think that this Ohio State team is built for that.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
because if you try to throw men in the box to try to stop this team, Kirby's just going to throw Darnell Washington out there and he'll throw Darnell Washington out there. He'll have the Kenny blocking, Kendall blocking, whoever.
Mm.
And we're just going to pick you apart. If
Yeah.
you're trying to dial in to stop the rush, they'll pivot and just start dropping bombs on you over the top. Arian Smith's a player we haven't really talked about too much lately either.
Yeah.
But he's had time to recover even more. Is this going to be a breakout game for him?
Yeah. I mean, an AD, right? I mean,
yeah. I am not a pessimist in this regard, but I'm going to be a realist. Like, to what level do you think AD is going to be able to be a factor? Like, be honest.
yeah. I mean, I would say no more than what we did with Pickens in the playoff last year.
Right.
So, which was a big play in some situational moments, not like the impact of the game, but could make a big play to impact the game, just not on volume.
Right. Yeah, I think he could be. I think he could be involved. I just don't know that it's going to be the game breaker, like
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and before we move on to the defense, I just have to add, never doubt Kearis. Who knows with these guys out? I could see him doing some of that stuff on the perimeter, like I was talking about earlier, that I saw Michigan do against them. I could see Kearis do something like that. So,
yeah, Kearis he's got motivation too because he's going to be. This is his last year, right? He doesn't have another COVID year, does he?
I actually looked this up. That's funny you brought that up. He could come back. Technically,
okay.
I don't know that he will, but like because he actually only played 4 games when he was a true freshman, so that was a redshirt year. So technically, he's a true redshirt senior and could come back next year if he wanted to. I don't know that he will. I know he walked on senior day, so
Doesn't mean anything, Jim.
I know it doesn't. It does not. It does not mean anything. So,
We did take a lot of transfers, which I guess we didn't talk about the signing day or whatever
well, we just mentioned to go look
in
at.
too depth.
Yeah, go check out. That's well documented at Dog Central.
That's true. You don't come to my God a podcast for recruiting analysis.
That's right. That's right.
But we did get some transfers that could potentially impact his decision making process.
Agreed.
But yes, yeah, Kearis, never doubt Kearis. He's due for a big game, I feel like. Yeah. I mean, I would say that the way that this team goes is actually through the offense. If we do not turn the ball over, if we are net neutral or positive in turnover margin, we are going to win this game running away. Like, period, end of story. It's literally been the analysis for every game this season.
So you think even this game is a protect the ball, win the game?
I mean, yeah, 100%. Like, this game is going to come down to who has the most positive possessions that they have in their arsenal. Right. What I mean by that is, like, how many possessions do you have where you score points? How many possessions do you have where you don't turn the ball over?
Yep.
Because we could punt the ball a bunch of times and still, like, win this game handedly.
Right.
As long as we don't turn it over on offense, I feel like our defense is far going to outmatch Ohio State's.
Well, let's talk about that defense. Let's talk about what we're looking for when Ohio State has the ball. So obviously, led by another Heisman Trophy finalist who did not win it in C.J. Stroud. So he is 235 to 355 that's a 66.2% completion percentage, 3,330 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. We talked about the running back situation earlier. So Miyan Williams is the leading rusher, 125 carries for 817 yards, 13 touchdowns. Throughout the season, they were rotating 3 running backs, but one of them, in Travion Henderson, is out with foot surgery. He's done for the year. Dallin Hayden is the third leading back, but again, like we talked about earlier, watch out for that Chip Trayanum there, kind of as the other backer. He may even start. I don't know. We'll see. They have 2 1,000-yard receivers in Marvin Harrison Jr., which makes me feel old. He had 72 catches for 1,157 yards and 12 touchdowns. And then Emeka Ibuka had 66 catches, 1,039 yards in 9 touchdowns. Against the Power 5, the Ohio State offense is averaging 41.2 points per game. But again, like we talked about with that scoring impact, Georgia is holding Power 5 teams 14.14 points below their average against Power 5 teams. So what I wanted to ask you here, John, something that you've been saying all year, as we talked about, like, who was on Georgia's schedule and who could be on Georgia's schedule. You kept saying, like, Ohio State was the only potential matchup that concerned you. Now, I guess, like, are you still concerned? And if not, like, what changed that? Like, is it now that you've watched them more, and I know you watched the entire Michigan game?
Well, so the rationale on that was based on all of the advanced stats in terms of the net yards per play, the efficiency numbers that Josh puts out there. We talk about that on the thread, and we talk about that at Dog Central. So on paper, they were, I haven't looked at the updated numbers because frankly it doesn't matter at this point, but like, as the season was progressing before the Michigan game, I feel like, and maybe even after, but like, as the season was progressing, Ohio State had the highest net yards per play in the country. And I'm not even gonna like do it justice by spouting off what they were, but like, basically, if you go back in time and you look at the national championship winners, they were like, I think the Senator Blutarski like had this breakdown like a few years ago about this, where like, to be a truly elite team, you had to have a net yards per play average of like 2.3 something or higher to be an elite team. That, don't quote me on that, but like, I think that was the number. It was something along those lines. That every single like national champion in the CFP era or the BCS era or whatever had like this net yards per play metric that was like the target.
Mhm.
And then you had to finish in the top 10 or top 5 offense, top 10 in defense, top 5 in offense. Like there were like other ancillary metrics that were also included in this. And Ohio State ticked the box on basically every single one of them.
Right.
What doesn't worry me about this is the struggles that they're having with health right now.
Mhm.
Like you mentioned it on this episode that they're having issues with the running back position. Having issues with I think one of their wide receivers is now hurt as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, as like in Jigba, but he basically hasn't played all year. I think he was like, you could maybe say he was their best receiver, but he's basically been like kind of like AD Mitchell. But if AD Mitchell said, "I'm shutting it down," it was one of those kind of situations.
Okay. So, they have this prolific passing game, but as the season's progressed, as I've seen the numbers pan out the way that they are, and I did watch the Michigan game because Michigan, by and large, like would be like the, quote unquote UGA to their Tennessee
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Right. Right.
Um, and Michigan beat the piss out of them at home in one of the largest stadiums in the country that is largely like it would be like if Tennessee came into Athens this year and just beat the pants off of us for 3 quarters.
Mhm.
The only way that game was even remotely close was because of like just shenanigans that happened at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Because like by and large, that game was over at halftime.
Mhm. Mhm.
Michigan beat the absolute piss out of them.
Yeah.
And it was shocking. It was quite shocking, just how handedly they were able to handle Ohio State. And from what I saw was that they were able to get pressure on CJ Stroud. And I think that our defensive line is going to be able to get to CJ Stroud much better. Like if he was a more mobile quarterback, I would think that we might have a problem. But he's not a danger to run.
No, he doesn't run. He does not. Yeah.
And that doesn't bode well for you versus this UGA defensive front.
Mhm. Mhm.
Particularly if we are able to shut down their running game without having to bring extra players into the box, kind of thing.
Right.
It just doesn't bode well for them. Like there's an ominous feeling about this game for the Buckeyes, which I think is probably part of the reason why like the Buckeyes have been pretty quiet all season long because all week long is
Yeah.
because they're scared as hell about this game.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, UGA, the UGA fans, like I think one of the guys tweeted it out, like, why am I not monkening?
Mhm.
Or why am I not munsoning right now? And I'm not munsoning, I'm monkening. Like I'm giddy as a schoolgirl, just waiting to see what Stetson can do against these guys.
Yeah.
Because I think it's going to be a big game for him. Um, so yeah, I mean, like why that's changed is like I said, they haven't really had a whole lot of competition all year long, like by and large. Yes, they've had some ranked wins, but the best team on their schedule, they got absolutely housed at home.
Yeah.
Um, and I think we can beat Michigan too, for the matter. So that's why I'm not as concerned anymore. And it kind of goes back to like every analysis is if we keep the ball, and don't turn the ball over, then we win the game. That's like period, end of story. But on the flip side of it, like in order for them to beat us, it's like the same analysis every game. In order for you to beat this Georgia team, you have to hope that we turn the ball over and
Mhm.
you win the turnover battle. You have to hope that you play perfect on offense. And you have to hope that our defense plays imperfect on their side of the ball. You have to basically hope that everything goes wrong for UGA in order for you to even have a chance to win this game.
Right. It's like everything has to
And
go wrong for Georgia and it has to all go right for you, like when you have the ball too. Right.
correct.
Yeah.
You have to play a perfect game, and we have to play our worst game in order for you to even have a chance to win this. And as we've seen from the Missouri game, you may not win it.
Right. Right. I'll say like some things I've seen are like people kind of comparing this to the Rose Bowl against Oklahoma. And like, Georgia hadn't seen an offense like that. And then, like
I totally disagree with that
I agree.
assessment, but
I agree. I disagree too, because like in that game, like for one, that was our first ever playoff game, and like we hadn't seen it. I would agree we hadn't seen an offense like that. Like this year, I'm not saying they're the same, but like we did play against Tennessee's offense and totally shut them down. And then also like this isn't Kirby's first rodeo, and it was back then, right? Like I don't think the players knew what they were in for. And I think that this is a much more, even though it's a young team, I still think it's more mature than that team was. Like I've read some things about how those guys didn't take Oklahoma seriously. So I think that's there. And then also like just knowing what we saw our team do after the long layoff between the SEC championship and the CFP semifinal last year. Like just think of the defensive improvement that we saw there. And, even this has been even more time for Jalen Carter to rest up. And I think we can pretty much throw away what LSU did in the second half against the defense, because that was the entire second half was garbage time, So the other thing is I mentioned, I think that I watched The Year of the Dog yesterday on ESPN, and something that happened, it was a key moment in that that stuck out to me. It was against Alabama, and also it was Dan Lanning, but I still think it sticks out, was Dan Lanning, like, on the sideline instructing the defensive backs and talking to everyone and saying, we're not giving up the deep ball. And so I think that's like, that's going to be the thing here too. We've seen this defense do it all year. Like you can get some yards on Georgia, but we're going to really squeeze you if you cross the 50, if you get into the red zone, and we're keeping you out of the end zone. So I think I'm looking for more of that from the defense.
Yeah, I think that that's one of those things that it's definitely going to be a bend don't break. So you talk about let's talk about the UGA defense. So I'll address your Rose Bowl comparison, and anybody out there that thinks that this is like the when we played Oklahoma. Number one, I say BS. Number two, I say that defense was nowhere near as the caliber of this Georgia defense. Yes, you had a future NFL Hall of Famer, Roquan Smith playing in that game. Yes, we had like great defensive players individually in that game, but there's no like you go up and down like the what was it, the all SEC list or something like that, where it was like hardly anybody was on that list. Jalen Carter's not even listed on the PFF the PFF like highest graded defensive players in the playoff. Like there's no like one guy that's like completely standing out head and shoulders above everyone else. It's literally the entire team. Our entire defense is stacked top to bottom. Our to put it in context, like preseason, Keely Ringo was cornerback 1. Well, he's not cornerback 1 anymore. It's a true freshman. And like it's those kinds of things that have kind of, as the season has panned out, like this defense is probably better, and I believe will probably break the record for Kirby in terms of like number of players that were drafted. A lot of them are going to be coming off of the defense. There's also going to be a lot of offensive players too, but like this defense is absolutely stacked. And we joked like all season long until, we hit a couple of speed bumps with some garbage time games or whatever, like Missouri gave us a challenge or whatever. But like we haven't really worried about any of these games all season long. And we joked about it like preseason was like, even if we're twice as bad as we were last season, we're still only giving up 14 points a game. And for a large swath of the season, we discussed like this defense better than last year's?
Right.
And for a while it was like, like statistically, yes, it was. Yeah. I still kind of feel that way about the defense, that we are better because we just have so many young players that are out there, and we are still playing at this level.
Yeah. Yep. No, agreed.
Let's see what else.
I think one of the key things you mentioned was like the pass rush, right? And getting to Stroud, because that's the other thing. Like that's like the great equalizer, right? It's like you've got a pass happy quarterback like this who's put up Heisman numbers, right? Was a Heisman finalist. And same thing with Hooker, right? So like, even though, because this team doesn't get a lot of sacks, but they can get pressure, and we got pressure on Hendon Hooker, and it threw him off of his game. So that's something we really need to do in this one.
I agree. And you saw a little bit of it in the Michigan game as well, that they weren't necessarily able to get to him, but they were definitely able to impact him by just getting there earlier than he wanted them to. And, I think we mentioned Justin Fields earlier. Like this offense, what Ryan Day's offense asks of the quarterback is not super complicated.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
if his first read isn't there, he's probably going to be in trouble.
Right. Right.
The other
True.
thing that I'd say that as far as the defense goes, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the Jalen Hyatt of this team, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I've seen a lot about him, and it'll be interesting to see like what we do as a defense to address that, because he is going to get yards.
Yes.
He's going to be a problem for us, I feel like.
Mhm.
But do I think that he's going to be enough of a problem to completely change the game? I don't know. It largely, I think, is ultimately going to depend on who he's lined up against and who he's lined up for.
Mhm.
So even with our linebackers the way that they are and our safeties the way that they are, if he ends up getting schemed into plays where he is on a linebacker, or we have to switch defenders to where he's running with a linebacker or a safety, it's probably going to be a problem for us.
Right.
So that's something to watch out for, is how much he's able to impact the game to keep them in it. Because I do think that he's going to make plays for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to assume that Keely Ringo is going to be lined up with him, because frankly, Keely's been lined up with every team's best receiver thus far. I don't understand it, but it seems like that's the way that things are going to go. And if that's the case, we probably are going to see some drives get extended that probably shouldn't, by pass interference or holding or whatever.
Mhm.
And that's just going to be something that we're going to have to swallow. But
Yeah, I mean, we swallowed that all year, right? I mean,
yeah,
like that's the thing. That I would say that is the difference between this defense and last year's, right? Is last year's defense, I feel like, was like just like totally smothering you and choking you out. This year's defense, like, we're given some yards, but they're empty yards, and I don't. So I that's what I think will happen here, right? Like Ohio State's going to they're going to have some numbers, they're going to have some stats, going to have some yards, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to translate to as many points as they'd want.
Something you just said reminded me of 100 Sanford, and something that George said in the LSU analysis or whatever. He had a comment on one of their episodes that was like, "This defense is just insane." Like we like, look at LSU. Look at the LSU game. We gave up 1 billion yards,
Yeah.
and we still beat their ass.
He said that when he was talking to us. That was when he was talking
Oh, he
to us.
did? Okay, yeah. I
Yeah.
couldn't remember what it was. But
Too
yeah,
good.
he's like, they gave up 1
A
billion
billion
yards.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, why don't we take a moment to remind everyone that season 3 of My God, a Podcast is presented by Oxia Time. So Oxia Time is a custom watch company. You've got to go check out their 2021 Georgia National Championship watch collection. And you've also got to check out their 2022 college football playoff collection. So they've got a 2022 CFP, which actually is the 2023 logo. That's kind of how officially the CFP handles it. So for each of the 4 teams that are participating, so you can go check those out at axiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. And I definitely know of at least one listener, maybe may or may not be my dad, Frip Dog, that got one of those timepieces for Christmas. So shout out to my mom. I know my dad got one of those, and he's been texting me about it. Super excited. So I'll be wearing mine on New Year's Eve for the game. Definitely looking forward to it.
It was Ponda's famous Christmas gift.
Nice. I like it. Awesome. All right, let's do a quick special teams. So on the Ohio State side, just like kind of know who they are kind of deal. Noah Ruggles is their place kicker. He was 69 of 70 on the year for extra points, and 15 of 17 on the year for field goals. And then their punter is Jesse Mirko. He's second in the Big Ten in punting average at 45.6 yards, 7th in the Big Ten in net punting at 41.5 yards. Which I was mentioning, I think last time, that like Thorson wasn't listed on ESPN in the rankings because he didn't punt enough. He finally got in there. I think he ended up like 4th in the SEC, by the way, on our end.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Yep. So the only other thing I was going to add on the special team side, and I got this from when I was reading that Schleba article, was something Kirby had said years ago about one of the Kirby's last game as Bama's defensive coordinator in the championship game against Clemson made me think about this around like if we end up in some kind of back and forth type game. I'm not saying we will, but if we do, I wouldn't be shocked if Kirby tries to steal a possession somewhere is some way. So just if that happens, I wouldn't be shocked. So that's all I got for the special team.
I don't. If that happens in this game, I will be very surprised.
Fair. All right, you ready for the listener questions?
Let's hit them up.
All right. Let's see. First up, the one you were referencing, our buddy Will Kaplan. Which, by the way, I tried to meet up with Will. I was in DC a few weeks ago, and our schedules did not line up. So apologies, Will. Hate that didn't work out. But we'll get that working at some point. So Will asked, "Why am I not Munsoning? I'm confused."
Yes.
So I think you hit it. I'm gonna say because like you've realized like what is the point? What's the point of Munsoning? It's not going to get you anything. And we've talked about the matchups and kind of what we're looking at here. And I don't know. I think you said it a while ago, John, that Munsoning is dead. We don't need to be Munsoning anymore. In Kirby We Trust.
Yeah, in Kirby We Trust is kind of my approach, and it's just. I mean, we're in a new era. Like I said, we were favored by 20 points in 9 games this season. Yeah. Like that would be enough to be in a substantial bowl game if that would be like on your way to the 10 win season that Mark Richt had. Like, and I guarantee you in those Mark Richt years, we were not favored by 20 points. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're literally living the good life right now, and we're in the good times, and I am thoroughly enjoying it, and you should too.
Agreed. Let's see. Benjamin. I skipped. John Michael D. Currently, I feel confident about the score, which makes me want to Munson about the fact that I'm not Munsoning, but I will not. Agreed, John. Then he said, in honor of the game's namesake, Chick-fil-A peach milkshake or a varsity's FO. What do you got, John? What's your favorite?
Oof, man, it's gotta be the peach milkshake, right?
It's a tough one for me because like on volume, I've definitely had more FOs in my lifetime, but they've existed for so much longer. They've been around. The peach milkshake is pretty new. I do love a peach milkshake. I probably would go peach milkshake if I had to choose between one of the two. But I do love a good FO. Like I have it whenever I go to the Varsity, I get 2 chili dogs, fries, and a frosted orange. Like that's my order.
Nice. I usually do a chili dog, a cheeseburger, and an FO.
Except I will say
onion rings.
I will say, in case anyone threw their podcast player of choice across the room, I don't say chili dog when I order it. I do just say dog, but I was just saying that to be clear. But my order, I say 2 dogs, fries, and FO. Because if you say dog, it's a chili dog. At any rate. Yeah, you don't need to say chili.
I forgot. You got to do slaw dog.
Oh, you do a slaw dog? Okay. Yeah,
I do like the slaw dog.
I do like the onion rings, but I usually order fries. I do, 2 dogs, fries. Yeah. Okay.
So my only gripe with the fries at the Varsity, and this is gonna enrage some folks, and maybe it could be as fierce a debate as like A Christmas Story and Christmas Vacation, but I would say that the fries at the Varsity are underwhelming.
Yeah, they're not my favorite fries. They're not. I'm not as huge of an onion ring person just in general. But yeah, there are better fries out there than the Varsity. I'm not going to disagree with that.
They're super floppy and greasy.
Also, not to get on that train again, but to be clear, I'm not saying that I don't like Christmas Vacation. It is an excellent movie. My stance is just that A Christmas Story is not terrible. That's all I'm arguing. See, these people like, A Christmas Story is a terrible movie. Like, come on. If you're a terrible movie, you're not on TBS for 24 hours.
It could be as fierce a debate as A Christmas Story is not in the top 5 Christmas movies. On advice of counsel.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I must state publicly.
Again, this is why we didn't record last week, because it would have been the entire episode.
We should do an episode or talk about like the obscure Christmas movies that no one really talks about that are great. Like I think John mentioned what was the Christmas movie that he was
the one that
about?
I just watched?
Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way. See, I'm not as big on that one, but yeah, I'm familiar with it.
I saw the one The Night Before, which is like a newer movie, but like The Night Before is a fantastic Christmas movie for adults.
We just saw 4 Christmases.
I saw Scrooge. Scrooge was one that popped
Scrooge
up.
Is a great movie.
I hadn't seen that one. I need to watch it.
You've never seen?
I haven't seen it recently. This year. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I haven't seen it this year.
Have you seen Spirited, the new one with Will Ferrell and?
Okay. So I got a bone to pick with this one. I had God, we're off the rails completely now at this point.
Just to get it quickly.
I had high hopes. I had high hopes for this movie. It completely
Oh,
underwhelmed, and I wanted to
you don't like musicals. I shouldn't have even
I
recommended that.
wanted to fall
I
asleep.
forgot. Okay, we can move on. You don't like musicals. I will say we just watched Four Christmases. I had never seen that. That was actually pretty good. The Family Man. Highly recommend The Family
Oh
Man.
yes, The Family Man was a fantastic movie.
Great movie. Ella is emotional like me, and Ella was like uncontrollably crying at the end of that movie. Great movie. I really like that
Is that a
one.
free one? Is that a free one?
No, it's not streaming anywhere right now. You have to like rent it,
Ah,
unless you record it off TV or something. So
I need to. I think I actually have it on DVD. I think I mentioned that.
that's a good one. That's a good one. I really like that one.
I need to watch. I need to watch that with my teenager.
Yes, agreed. All right, we'll move on. We'll move on. We had to go off the rails at least once. Benjamin asked, "Is it okay to watch the game by yourself if your wife wants to go watch it with a group of neighbors down the street as part of a New Year's Eve celebration? I prefer to watch by myself and pace around the living room, yelling and screaming at the television." I'm in the same predicament here. We're continuing to discuss as a family, like, what are we doing for New Year's Eve? Because we've been invited to a neighbor's New Year's Eve party. This is where I will just say I hate that these games are on New Year's Eve. It was idiotic by the college football playoff to do this in the first place, trying to make New Year's Eve bowl games be a thing. And we've got these games kicking off at 8 o'clock, heading into the New Year's Eve is just, it's dumb. I hate it. So I would say, Benjamin, if you're asking me, I think it's fine. Let's just make sure it's okay with your wife. I would say ask her.
Yeah.
But I understand the sentiment because I feel largely the same way. But her opinion is much more important than ours.
If your wife is as understanding as my wife is, and so here's the clarifying statement that I would say on that. If you feel that you are going to be uncomfortable watching it the way that you would want to watch it in front of your neighbors, or if you are going into what I would refer to as an unsafe environment, which would be like I did. I had this exact dilemma for the Florida game. We had a fall festival party that we were going to, and I knew that there were guys there that if things weren't going right would make it miserable for me. Just because that's that's just how they operate. They're not Georgia fans, they're not
Right.
Florida fans. They just
Yep.
want to stir the pot, right?
Yes.
So if you have those types of people, more importantly, if there's Ohio State people that are, going to give you a hard time if things aren't going right, like it should be fine, but right. But like if you're going to be in an unsafe environment, I would say that I would just stay home, which is what I did for the Florida game. And I thought I was safe and ended up going into that environment and it was like still a little bit unsafe.
Right. Well, and that's, if you'll recall, John, that's what I did for the LSU game, right? Because there was a birthday party for a buddy of mine, but he's the LSU fan, and so mine is more about being cognizant of my own behavior at someone else's house when they're a fan of the team that we're playing. That was my bigger concern there. This one for me for New Year's, like this guy is like, I mean, he enjoys college football, but he's not a huge college football fan. But there's a chance that there might be one of our friends who is an Ohio State fan might be there. So I don't know. We're probably going to watch at home. So I get it. I get it. It's a tough thing. I blame the college football playoff in general. These games should not be on New Year's Eve. I think it's dumb. But
I wouldn't
anyway.
blame the college football playoff. I would blame the Peach Bowl actually, because historically the Peach Bowl has always been on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, but that's not the deal here though. This is because of the playoff. The playoff decides everything now. So, and when the playoff was formed, they announced that New Year's Eve was going to be taken over by college football for a new tradition. It's so stupid. So
I really
yeah.
agree that's stupid because the Peach Bowl being like, because I think is it historically the Peach Bowl been like
It's
the
gone back
only
and forth.
game?
It's gone
The
back and
only
forth,
game?
but it has been on New Year's Eve for sure. Like my freshman year, that's what I did. I mean, but I was in college and like, who cares? Like, but yeah, that's what I did for New Year's Eve my freshman year, 98 Peach Bowl when we beat Virginia.
Yeah, I feel like that there was a tradition like there are SEC fans that I know that I grew up with that that was like their thing. Like they would go to the Peach Bowl on New Year's Eve,
Right.
even if their team wasn't playing it.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Yep.
it was like always a sellout. And basically the game, and I also think it started earlier, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Like, I will say, like that 98 game I'm talking about, like, I remember the game ended, we left, and I still made it over to like a friend's house for a New Year's Eve party.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. I think the games were earlier. And so if they were earlier, then it would check all the boxes, right?
I was hoping that this would be the 4 o'clock game, but I guess that was wishful thinking on my part.
Yeah.
All right, next up we've got a good handle name at Mustache Strider. Name Spencer Strider's mustache blanket. Did we switch and get a real football team, or is it still Ohio State? It is still Ohio State. I will say this. I actually think that this is like, I think we said this before. Like, I feel like as the number 1 seed, we kind of got hosed. I actually think Ohio State is the toughest matchup of the other 3 teams in the field. So yeah, that kind of my opinion. Mileage may vary on that, but
yeah.
I liked his Twitter handle though. It was excellent. Let's see.
It's a good one.
Zach, SC Dog 864, favorite matchup in this game. And he said that his is the trenches and the physicality. So I would agree. I mean, we talked about that earlier, right? Around like our defensive line and ability to get pressure. I think our offensive line, even if McClendon can't go, I still like that matchup. And it's interesting too. Like last year, I keep looking back to the Orange Bowl. It was the last time we played a Big Ten team against Michigan, and Michigan had like Aiden Hutchinson coming in, like with all this hype, and like Ohio State doesn't have a defensive lineman of that ilk, right, or with that kind of notoriety coming into this game. So really interested to see that. So that I would agree. I mean, those are the matchups. I mean, that's kind of Georgia football, right? It comes down to the trenches, and so I think we've got an advantage there as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that the matchup, I guess the matchup that will probably have the most impact on this game is going to be Jalen Carter versus Ohio State.
Okay.
Just
as far
like their whole offense.
Right. Jalen Carter.
If Jalen Carter versus their offensive line, I guess more explicitly, but if Jalen Carter is able to disrupt their offensive line by himself, it's gonna be a long day.
I like it. All right, I like this question. Next one, 51-7 GATA. Who do you think Michigan is pulling for? Georgia or Ohio State? And he adds, most would think they don't want to play Ohio State again, but after that physical beatdown they got last year in Miami, I'm thinking most Big Blue fans are hoping to play Ohio State if they get past TCU. You mentioned your Michigan buddy before. I don't know if has he given this away at all?
I polled my Michigan friend for this answer, and I said, "Who do you guys want to play?" Because historically, like having to beat a team twice in a season is hard, as Alabama fans will attest. The answer that I got was a little surprising, especially given how things went last year. But the Michigan people really want a rematch with Georgia. They want to avenge last season's loss. And I find that a little funny because like they literally beat the pants off of Ohio State, and by and large they should expect to be able to do that again, even on a neutral field, because they beat the pants off them at home or at Ohio State. Yeah. Right. So on a neutral field, you would expect that to be, as good or worse, right?
Yeah.
So for them to say that they want Georgia after Georgia laid the biggest whooping on them, and the way that Georgia's been playing, and the fact that we still they haven't closed the gap in any talent regards. If anything, they're worse off because they're down like one of their better players, right? Mm-hmm. Their quarterback is a true freshman, I believe, which just does not match up well. So I guess I'm
Michigan's tipping no, he's a sophomore. He played in the game against us last year.
He didn't look good against Ohio State. I'll say that, even though they beat the crap out of Ohio State, he didn't look good.
I'll say this. I will say I'm proud of your friend for giving that answer. I think that's a good answer from a fan's perspective. That's kind of how I think as a fan. So I like that answer. And that's why I can't remember who it was. Someone like responded to 51 GATA right away. And it was like, oh, hands down 100%. They want Ohio State. And I was like, I didn't even say this, but I don't think it's that clear cut. Like, I think there's probably like, if you're asking the Michigan football team, like the players, well, first off, they wouldn't answer that. But like, if they had to answer truthfully, they'd probably say Ohio State, or like maybe the coaches feel like they match up better with Ohio State. So maybe they would say Ohio State, like if they had to tell the truth. But I think from the fans' perspective, I think that makes sense. I think that's a good answer. So that's kind of, that's kind of what I was thinking. So I'm actually glad to hear that your friend said that. I think that's cool.
I would also add that there's probably a dynamic of like alumni versus non-alumni answers here. So he's he's not an alumni of Michigan, but he is, from that area and from.
Gotcha.
I can't remember where he went to school. Where did he go to school? He played soccer somewhere. I can't remember. But anyway, Yeah, he was voting for Georgia.
Got it. All right. Next up, Fletcher Proctor. Georgia always seems to play tight games / thrillers in the Peach Bowl. Cincinnati, Virginia Tech, Virginia twice, Syracuse, and Maryland. We seem to own the second half of these games, but could we not give me a heart attack on New Year's Eve? And please also dominate the first half. Please, hashtag Go Dogs. I'm just going to point back to what we did in the first half against Michigan last year. The way we rolled off, we never punted. We scored every possession. Except I think we basically we ran the clock out at the end of the first half. The half ended with us with the ball. So after a long layoff, I'm expecting us to come out firing. So that's my take.
I'm expecting us to come out and not punt very much. Yeah. There's certainly that possibility. Stetson looked hungover when he was coming into the game this week. as if you were peruse my Twitter, the team put out a picture and he looked like he had a what do you call it, 5 o'clock shadow or whatever. Anyway, yeah, I'd say that they still look dialed in though.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's see. Chad Jarvis, will Stetson ball out and show why he should have won the Heisman? I think we already talked about that. We think yes. And he said also, will My God a Podcast be making an appearance? So we didn't talk about that. I definitely will not. I'm going to be at home in North Carolina. We didn't get tickets. John, I know it's kind of up in the air for you, but what's your status?
At this point, I would say that the sources are going to have to be extreme for me to attend this at this point in time. Okay. I've been watching the prices. I was thinking about, I've talked to Carter about this, but I was looking to see if I could sneak in a last minute, Christmas present and take him to the game. But the prices just are not cooperating. I had hope earlier this week. I think it got down to like $319 was the total get in price on the app that I use, which was nice. But have since gone back up to like $400, $500 a piece, which is just not a good thing for me.
Got it. All right. Let's see. Friend of the show, the original friend of the show, Tim Riley, at T Riley Dog on Twitter. It's 11:45 p.m. Ball drop is happening soon. The final score of the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl is 44-40. What fan base is buying tickets to LAX? Well, I still think it's Georgia, even if that's the score.
I'm going to tip my hand based on the tailgate thread. Mm-hmm. We've already bought tickets to LAX, and many of them have bought tickets to wherever the heck Orange County's airport is.
Right. But the point being, if the final score is 44-40, who won the game?
Yeah, Georgia for sure.
I think so too. I don't see us giving up 44. At any rate,
I don't see us giving up 40.
Yeah, I don't either. All right, Hug Dog. Jason Huggins has hit us with another round of Would You Rather. Would you rather blow out Ohio State or win a tight game?
Are we going to answer these as we go?
Yeah.
Okay. A hands down blowout Ohio State.
Agree. I want none of the.
I would be happy to win 100-0.
Agreed. Let's see. Would you rather have Stetson throw for 300 plus or the running back core run for 150 plus?
Stetson throw for 300 plus.
I agree. Sure. Even as the one run the damn ball guy, I want to see Stetson.
I still think that there could be room for us to run for 150 for what it's worth.
Yeah, agreed. Would you rather catch a parachuting Chick-fil-A cow or find a BR guest card in your seat at Mercedes-Benz Stadium?
I was curious about what this meant. So the Chick-fil-A cows, aren't they carrying a BR guest card?
I don't know how it's working.
I thought that's what they were. I mean, assuming it's just a cow, which I could have sworn that they carried like a gift card or whatever in them.
Okay,
but I guess a BR guest card. So I will give you some inside baseball on this. Most of the Chick-fil-A employees have what they call BOG cards or whatever. The BR guest card. If they hand them out to you, then that's like you've done something good. Mm-hmm. So I would. If I got a BR guest card, I would say that I've done something good. So that means that an employee at Chick-fil-A deemed me worthy of a free chicken sandwich.
I'll take the parachuting cow. I rather like them. I will say in that 98 Peach Bowl that I mentioned earlier, The way I remember it, I think like there was a cow sitting on our seat. Like we didn't have to catch one. Like everyone got one. And like every time either team scored, like everyone, not me, because I wanted to keep my cow. Many people were just like throwing the cows up in the air. And so it was hilarious. It's like every time there was a score, there was just cows everywhere. Like some were going on the field, some were just going like from one person to another. And like I remember like my sister had gone with her friend Beth. Her friend was like, why is everyone killing the cows? Like they're sacrificing the cows because cows are like falling from the upper deck to the lower level and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, what I'm not sure of is, do I still have my cow? I'm not sure. So go see this.
That would surprise me if you didn't have something.
Fair. I'll go look for it.
It's probably under the stack of red and blacks from your freshman year.
You got me. You
got him.
You know me too well. All right, let's see. Last one. Would you rather listen to Chris and Kirk or Scott and Eric call the game? I'd rather listen to Scott and Eric, but I probably won't because I don't like that. Like even with the hometown broadcast, what I don't like about the hometown broadcast is like the game doesn't take up the entire screen, and they've got this like picture of Kirby the entire game, and then a bunch of stats on the side. Like if I could have my entire screen, like if the hometown broadcast was the regular broadcast, but with Scott Howard and Eric Zeier overlaid over it, I would do that. So I would say I would rather listen to them, but I'm not going to. I'll probably just watch the regular broadcast.
Oh, so you're thinking that he's talking about like listen to the ESPN hometown version?
Well, I think he's probably just in general. I probably went above and beyond maybe what Jason asked. So I would rather listen to Scott and Eric, but I'm just saying I'm not going to because of that.
Yeah, for sure. I would much rather listen to Scott and Eric. Although Chris Fowler is pretty good.
Oh yeah, I hate
Kirk Herbstreit, but I like Chris Fowler.
All right, a fun fact that I missed and that I forgot to mention earlier. Did you know that there is a tight end on Ohio State's roster named Zach Herbstreit? You're calling the game and your kid's on the team? Kind of weird. Anyways.
You're calling the game and you're an alumni and your kid's on the team and you're a donor of the university.
Let's never forget Will Muschamp made fun of Kirk Herbstreit. And Kirk Herbstreit's last collegiate pass was an interception to the University of Georgia by Mike Jones. So take that, Herbstreit.
Suck it.
And then Jason just ended with cheers to 2023, fellas. So cheers to you, Jason. Thank you for your friendship. Your welcoming of us and hosting us at some games this year was a blast to get to meet you and your family. So cheers.
Cheers. Indeed.
All right. You know what time it is now, John?
Oh my God! My God, a freshman. Trying to put glasses on it.
It is time for Coach Chill Bill's over unders. John, as the person in the lead, you get to decide. Would you like to go first, or do you want me to go first?
As the leader here, I will go first.
Okay. Over under, or starting with the offense. Over under 250 passing yards for Georgia.
Over.
Agree. Over. Over under 175 rushing yards for Georgia, and I'm going to say over.
I'm going to say under.
Okay. UGA first half points over under 20.5.
20.5.
This is a good number, I think.
That is a good number.
I had to think a lot.
I'm gonna go under.
Okay. I'm going to go over. I actually had it as under initially, and then I changed it at one point.
Oh, you changed it.
I didn't change it just now. I changed it earlier in the day before we started recording.
Oh, that's funny.
Let's see. Okay, so my turn. Okay, switching to the defense. Over under 275 passing yards for Ohio State. And I'm going to say over, actually.
I'm going to also say over.
Okay. Over under 3.5 total touchdowns for Ohio State.
Total touchdowns. Okay. Is it my turn? Am I up?
Yes.
Yeah. I will say under.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you. Under.
Yeah.
Okay. Over under 16.5 first half points for Ohio State. And I'm going to say under.
Under for sure.
Okay. Let's see. Special teams. Over under 2.5 jackpot made field goals.
Over.
Okay. I'm going to say under actually. And then last one, the miscellaneous Georgia fans take over the Benz. Over under 65%. I'm going to say over. I think it's going to be highly Georgia fans in our backyard.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over on that one.
Especially considering the whole Falcon season ticket holders or whatever. What is it? What's it called? Personal seat license
The
or
personal
whatever.
seat licenses.
They get to buy tickets to this game. That's why the tickets are so non-abundant for this game. It's kind of it's interesting. It was easier to get national championship tickets through the school than it was for this game. This game set a record, I think, for most donations needed for a Georgia game ever. It's pretty crazy. So
wow.
So all right, well, Coach, thank you as always for sending in the questions. Appreciate you, and thank you for tracking these for us all season. It's been it's added a new element to it, John, I would say, and it's been fun.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right. Let's get into the final score predictions. So this stuff is interesting. I don't know how much you've looked at this, John. But just looking at our normal things we look at. So looking at the CBC R2 SAM, our guys at Chapel Bell Curve and Dog Quant, their projection has Georgia winning 28 to 24.8. That's what their model has. The latest, the line is sitting at Georgia minus 6.5. It's been pretty steady there. The over under is at 62.5. Last I checked. That gives you an implied score of Georgia 34.5 to Ohio State 28. What's really interesting to me is we always look at OddsShark. They're predicting an Ohio State win. They have Ohio State 41.8 to Georgia 39.6. So that'd be a loss, Ohio State cover, obviously, and then hitting the over. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know that they predicted us to lose a game here in a while. If you look at the scoring impact that I mentioned earlier, right? And so to recap that, Georgia's offense, we have a positive 11. We're scoring 11.37 more points against our Power 5 opponents than they tend to allow. And our defense is holding our opponents to 14.14 points fewer than what they score against the Power 5. So if you just add those numbers to Ohio State's averages, that would give a final score of Georgia 31.17 to Ohio State 27.06. So that would have us winning there.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that OddsShark has that predicted score.
I thought so too.
Is that unique? I guess I didn't see that before.
It is. I checked. If you look at the ESPN matchup, they're predicting Georgia. So yeah, I'm not sure.
They don't have they don't have a score though, right? They don't have a predicted score.
They don't. They just have the matchup predictor. They've got Georgia at a 57.6 chance, 57.6% chance of winning. So yeah, I thought it was interesting.
And what was the CBC? What was the CBC number?
28 to 24, 28 to 25, something like that. Georgia winning by about a field goal.
28-25. So a close game.
Yeah, they've got a lot of close games. I almost went with just. I'll quickly tell you my logic. I almost just went straight up with the scoring impact. I was gonna say 31 to 27 is what I was gonna predict. But then I went and watched some Ohio State clips and footage, and I just don't think their defense can handle our offense, honestly. So I'm going to go Georgia 38, Ohio State 27.
38-27. Okay. That's crazy because that's really close to what I was going to say.
Shockingly agree.
Yeah, that's really close. Because I was also looking at that as well. So what's the over under?
62.5.
62.5. That would put it at, still close. Because I was gonna flub the over because that if you were to take the scoring impact, the total there is 58. So I was gonna take that difference and just flub it to UGA side, which would put it at 34-27, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair.
But I'm thinking too much about this.
You say that I overthink things.
Yeah. Well, no, this is important stuff because I've got the over under championship title belt on the line here.
That's okay. No, this doesn't even go into coach. This doesn't even factor into coaches over unders. You're fine.
Yeah.
This is just for
Uh,
fun.
I like that 38, 20. I don't know. 27 seems like a lot. I'm gonna go. Let's see. I'm gonna go 30. I'm gonna go 38 to 21.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, this is the best team we've played. I mean, I don't think there's any, I don't think you can dance around that. I mean, in my opinion, I think this is the best team we played, but I don't think they've played anyone on our level, even Michigan. So, for what it's worth. So it should be a fun one. Should be a fun one, man. I mean, like I said, I think they're going to have some yards, but I think they're going to be empty yards. So
Yeah, seriously, man. I mean, like they've just I mean, I think Dog Stats posted about this. Like their last two games have been their worst games all season long.
right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like there's there are like irrational like storyline type things that I can come up with, but when I just what I've seen from them, and not even like just the Michigan game, like I watch them if they're on. Like they had they've kind of like poured it on late a bit after some slow starts, and I don't really think that there's the opportunity to do that with us. So cool, man. I guess what do you think about the other semifinal? So you got Michigan and TCU was the early game in the Fiesta Bowl Saturday. I think it's at like 4:00. Michigan's only they're favored by 7.5, so only one more point than us over Ohio State. I thought that was interesting. Who you got in that one?
So that one's going to be interesting because I would say that like my natural tendency would be to like favor the running quarterback in that game, which would fall nicely to Dugan there because there were times in the Ohio State game with Michigan that like they were able to get to CJ Stroud only because he couldn't run out. And like there were multiple times in that game where had he been a mobile quarterback, he would have been able to punish them. So I actually think that TCU is going to give them a really tough game. So I actually think TCU is going to win that game. Sorry, Brian.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked. Like I think I'm going to take Michigan, but I wouldn't be shocked by TCU winning. Interesting. Yeah. Be a nice fun Saturday.
I think it would be nice to just dunk on the Big Ten for multiple games, but
yeah, seriously.
Like just drop your nuts on the entirety of the Big Ten.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, right? Like Ohio State, like I said, they're the only one in this playoff that didn't participate in their conference championship game. And I mean, like you've got them and Alabama are the only team to ever do that, and they've both done it multiple times. To not make it to the championship game and get in. So whatever. Like I've seen some people like this, like Ohio against the world, Ohio State against the world. It's like whatever. Like you guys totally get every benefit of the doubt, like all the time. So in the COVID year, they made it in with playing way less games than everyone. So it's like whatever. So yeah, man, I would love to shut up the Ohio State University. So
it's going to be the New Year's Eve party that's going to suck for them.
Nice. So what are you guys doing? Are you just going to watch at home most likely? So let's say you don't go to the game. You going to do like a home thing, or are you guys going to go out for something?
I think we're going to to be perfectly transparent, we have not discussed it.
Okay.
There's no parties or anything, neighborhood parties that I'm aware of, but it's been such a whirlwind for us. Like we hosted Christmas, we've hosted Thanksgiving, we hosted my sister came in town, came to the house all day yesterday. So we're kind of wiped, man. I'm not gonna lie. Christmas was brutal. You kind of need a vacation from your vacation. Kids being honest. I've got four kids running around here. So like my wife and I have talked about going to there's a restaurant here locally called Hamp and Harry's. They have like this whole like Christmas pop-up kind of thing where they have like Christmas lights all over the bar and all this kind of stuff. And so we've talked about going. I don't know that we're gonna go on Christmas or on New Year's Eve, but we may do that earlier in the week and just kind of watch the game at home. That's kind of my thought.
Gotcha. Nice.
Plus we went out of town last week. So yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we have anything. My wife will definitely be asleep before midnight, I feel like.
Yeah. Kim will stay up for the game. She'll watch the game. Our kids will be like, they're probably going to hole up in like another room so they can watch whatever, the ball type stuff, the New Year's Eve type shows, Ryan Seacrest or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think we'll probably end up at home. We'll see. We'll see. There's an outside chance to go to a neighbor's house, but right now it seems like we're kind of leaning towards staying home. So cool, man.
Good times.
Well, over a week. Good to get caught up and all the goings on over Christmas and not debate about movies too much. It was fun.
It was fun. It was fun. All in good jest.
Yeah.
Most of the time it was just because I know that it bothers you.
All good. All good. All good.
I don't think that I ever used the term terrible. I feel like that somewhere along the line things got twisted.
Right.
And I think that like my wife saying that movie was terrible, I think was what really set you off.
Too funny. Fair enough. Well, hey man, like you said, we are like these are not exact words, but like these are the good old days. Enjoy this, and I know I'm going to enjoy it Saturday night. So,
amen. Yeah, we'll tee it up, and I think we got another game coming. So let's just enjoy the rest of the season. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.